Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Simone Cotoni and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada. BC heat dome death calls for greater support for population at risk. Young girl whose remains were found in Rosedale dumpster was not likely reported missing. Ontario's remaining COVID-19 mask mandate set to expire this weekend. Prime Minister sidestepped guest list controversy, urges focus on important issues at LA summit. Boris Johnson faces continued pressure to step down despite no confidence vote win. Actor Matthew McConaughey makes emotional plea for gun control at White House. Man who took selfies with Sidhu Moosewala minutes before his death among 8 arrested in India. Money is a top stressor for Canadian amid high inflation. Canada soccer boots golden financial opportunity with failed matches. So those were the headlines. Now let's jump right into the details. A new BC coroner service report examining last year's heat dome calls for greater support for population at risk during extreme heat emergencies. The report also highlighted a lag between the issuing of heat alert by Environment Canada and the response by public agencies and the general public. The temperature surpassed 40 degrees Celsius for days during the heat dome, when most of those who died included elderly and vulnerable people living in buildings without air conditioning. The review, entitled Extreme Heat and Human Mortality, a review of heat-related deaths in BC in summer 2021, investigated the more than 800 deaths that were reported in the province from June 25th to July 1st, 2021. It found that 619 were heat-related. Coroner service figure released in November said the deaths of 595 people between June 18th and August 12 were related to the heat. Toronto police say it is unlikely that a little girl whose remains were found in a Rosedale construction dumpster last month has ever been reported missing. On May 2nd, police responded to a call in the Castle Frank Road and Dale Avenue area at around 4:45 p.m. Police said human remains were located in a dumpster outside a home. An autopsy was completed a couple of days later, and investigators confirmed that the remains belonged to a black girl of African or mixed African descent who was between 4 and 7 years old. She had all her teeth, stood at the 3 foot 6 inches tall with a thin build and black curly hair that was sectioned into 4 short ponytails, 2 of which were braided and secured with a black and blue elastic bands. Investigators believe the remains were left in the dumpster sometime between 12 p.m. on Thursday and April 22nd and 4:45 p.m. on Monday, May 2nd. However, police believe the girl may have been deceased as of last summer, perhaps even earlier. Police said the remains were wrapped in a crochet blanket inside a plastic bag that was a bag was wrapped in a colored blanket. Police released an image of the blanket. Ontario's remaining mask mandates are set to expire this weekend, effectively bringing an end to more than 2 years of public health restriction in the province. The mask mandate for most settings was lifted back on March 21st, but has remained in effect for a number of higher-risk locations, including public transit, in healthcare settings such as at hospitals or at doctor's office, at long-term care and retirement home, and in shelters and other congregate settings that provide care to medically and socially vulnerable individuals. Initially, Chief Medical Officer of Health Dr. Karen Moore has intended to lift the mandate for high-risk setting by April 27, but he extended it due to the 6th wave of pandemic. It is now slated to expire at midnight on June 11th. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau isn't saying whether he supports President Joe Biden's decision to exclude Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba from this week's Summit of America. Trudeau acknowledges that some of the countries in the Western Hemisphere are less like-minded than others, but he says they all share a number of urgent issues such as migration pressure, climate change, and recovering fully from the COVID-19 pandemic. All there are expected to be on agenda at the week-long summit as the Prime Minister departs for the Los Angeles later today. On the way, he and the Defense Minister Anita Anand are stopping in Colorado Springs, Colo, for meetings with the commander and the official from NORAD, the Joint Command Continental Defense System slated for upgrade. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tried to patch up with his tattered authority today after surviving a no-confidence vote that laid bare deep division in his Conservative Party and raised serious doubts about how long he can stay in the office. Under party rules, Johnson is now free from another challenge for a year. But previous Conservative Prime Ministers who have faced no-confidence votes have been terminally damaged, and growing number of Conservative lawmakers worry that the famously people-pleasing Johnson could now be a liability with voters. Johnson nevertheless vowed to get on with the job and focus what mattered to the British people, defined by him as the economy, healthcare, and crime, after the Conservative lawmaker voted by 211 to 148 to support him as a leader. But the scale of the rebellion raised serious questions about his ability to govern at the time of increasing economic and social strain. Former Conservative leader William Hague called on Johnson to step down, saying the damage done to his premiership is severe. Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey appeared at the White House today to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden and make an emotional call for gun control measures after a deadly elementary school shooting in his hometown of Texas 2 weeks ago. 19 children and 2 teachers were shot to death at Robb Elementary School on May 24th by an 18-year-old gunman wielding a semi-automatic rifle. McConaughey appeared at a news briefing at the White House, appearing to choke up several times. He held up photos of some of the child victims and talked about their families, what they were wearing on the day they were shot, and what they wanted to be when they grew up. Punjab police say they have arrested 8 people in connection with the murder of rapper Sidhu Moosewala, who rose to fame in Brampton, Ontario. The suspects have been taken into custody for providing logistic support, conducting and harboring the shooters, police said. Police also said that they have identified 4 shooters involved who remain at large. Police said one of the people arrested kept tabs on the rapper by pretending to be a fan and took selfies with the Moosewala minutes before his murder. The suspect also allegedly relayed information that Moosewala was not accompanied by his security personnel and was traveling in a non-bulletproof vehicle. The other arrested are accused of conducting surveillance on Moosewala, assembling the team of shooters, supplying the shooter with a vehicle, and providing them with a hideout. A new survey has found that Canadians are feeling stressed from soaring inflation, particularly from higher grocery prices. The Canadian Financial Stress Index survey says that 38% of the respondents cite money as being the biggest source of the stress for the 5th time in 8 years, nearly twice as much as personal health, work, or relationship. More than 2/3 of Canadians say rising grocery prices are having a direct impact on their finance-related stress. 56% says the same about soaring gas prices, followed closely by the impact of inflation on the cost of goods and services. 1 in 3 says financial stress is leading to anxiety, depression, or mental health challenges, while 39% report feeling less hopeful about their financial future now that they did a year ago. The survey of the 2001 Canadian conducted by The Ledger also found that 45% of the Canadians between the age of 18 and 34 says financial stress is hurting their mental health, compared with 31% of Canadians 35 and up who share that opinion. Up until a month ago, everything seemed to be going right for the Canada soccer. The national women's squad is defending Olympic champion. The men's team has clinched its first World Cup appearance since 1986, and the country was preparing to be the co-host of the Men's World Cup in 2026. How quickly the momentum has stalled, and along with it, a golden financial opportunity. First, Canada Soccer arranged a friendly match with Iran, which was eventually cancelled after the widespread opposition. The replacement game on the Sunday against Panama was also turfed just hours before kickoff after the Canadian players refused to take the field over the wage concern. The upcoming game on Thursday against Curacao is now in doubt. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Simona Cotoni, and I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Adios.